The red dust of Mars blew hard that morning, scratching against the metal walls of the colony like an endless whisper. Evan Carter, a 30-year-old mechanic, rubbed the sleep from his eyes as his workshop lights flickered to life. He had lived alone for almost 5 years now, fixing broken drones and repairing damaged colony suits. Loneliness was his only companion. That's why, a few weeks ago, he had placed an order through the Interplanetary Pet Network, a biopet, they called it. A small, friendly creature designed for emotional comfort. The ad had promised warmth, loyalty, and zero maintenance. Evan had laughed at that, but deep inside, he had hoped it might make his life less empty. That morning, a delivery drone landed outside his metal shelter, stirring a cloud of red dust. The crate it carried was large, much larger than he expected for a pet. It was marked with blinking blue lights and sealed with a digital lock. Finally, Evan muttered, wiping his hands and stepping closer. When he touched the panel, the crate hissed open. Cold mist spilled out. For a moment he saw nothing, only frost and steam. Then something moved inside, 2 small hands trembling. A shadow crouched low, and then a pair of bright silver eyes looked up at him. Evan froze. It wasn't a pet. It was a girl. Small, thin, no more than 16 or 17 by human appearance. Her skin shimmered faintly blue under the workshop light, her hair silver white like moonlight, and her clothes were nothing but a thin, metallic sheet clinging to her shoulders. Her lips moved, whispering in broken galactic English, "P, please. Don't send me back," Evan's heart pounded. He stepped back, speechless. This isn't right," he muttered. "They sent me a person?" The girl flinched at his voice and backed into the corner of the crate, curling into herself. He looked around the crate. There were no signs of animal care instructions, just a data chip stuck to the inner wall. He snatched it and plugged it into his wrist device. File log, product ID, LAR A172, biopet model, hybrid organism, property of Genetech Mars. Do not attempt modification or release without authorization. Evan's stomach turned. A biopet model? They were selling her as property. The girl slowly lifted her head again. "I'm not pet," she said softly, trembling. Evan ran a hand through his hair, unsure of what to do. He could contact the delivery company, but his gut told him that was a bad idea. Whoever sent her might come back to claim her, and he didn't trust corporations that labeled living beings as products. He sighed deeply. Okay. You're safe for now," he said gently. "I won't send you back." Her eyes softened just a little. He brought her some water and a thermal blanket. She drank carefully, like she wasn't used to being given anything freely. When she looked at him, there was confusion in her expression, as if she couldn't understand why he was being kind. "Name?" he asked softly. "Lyra," she whispered. "Designation LYRA172, but—" "I like Lyra." Evan smiled weakly. "Lyra, huh? Pretty name." She tilted her head, almost curious. "You are human?" "Yeah," he said. "And you?" Her voice shook. "They said I was made to serve, to follow orders." "To be quiet," he frowned. "Made? You mean you were created?" She nodded, hugging her knees. "They made us in labs. Said we were too strange for freedom. They put us in boxes. I escaped once. They caught me. This time, they sent me away, I think. As punishment." Evan felt anger rising in his chest. "That's sick. You're not an animal." But before he could say more, the workshop lights flickered again. A low hum filled the air, the kind that meant a surveillance drone was nearby. Lyra's eyes widened in fear. She scrambled under the workbench, her whole body trembling. They come to take me," she whispered. Evan grabbed his scanner and looked at the feed. A patrol drone hovered near his property line, scanning for energy signatures. "Relax," he said quietly. "They can't see inside." But Lyra shook her head violently. "No, they can smell my signal, my code. They track me." Evan knelt beside her. "Then I'll block it." He sprinted to his tool rack and pulled out an old shielding chip. With quick hands, he modified her pendant, a small crystal device around her neck, and attached the chip. The hum of the signal disappeared. "There," he said. "Now they can't trace you." Lyra blinked at him, tears welling in her silver eyes. Why you help me?" Evan didn't answer right away. Maybe because he didn't know himself. Maybe because he saw something human in her eyes. Fear, pain, and a desperate wish to belong. "Because it's the right thing to do," he finally said. That night, As the red horizon dimmed, Evan gave Lyra a small corner of the workshop with blankets and an old heater. She sat there, staring at her hands like she was seeing them for the first time. He tried to eat his rations, but she refused food. She seemed afraid to take anything that wasn't ordered. "Eat," he insisted. "You'll starve." She hesitated, then finally took a small bite. For the first time he saw a faint smile, fragile but real. Outside, the wind howled. Inside, Evan felt something strange, a warmth he hadn't known in years. Later that night, when he lay down on his bunk, he heard soft humming. Lyra was sitting by the window, watching the red dust dance under the moonlight. Her voice was soft, almost like a lullaby in an unknown language. It was beautiful. But just as he was about to drift off to sleep, the base alarm blared. Red lights flashed across the walls. "Warning," the AI voice said. "Unregistered energy signature detected within Zone 9. Evan jumped up. Lyra's pendant glowed faintly. The shielding chip had failed. He grabbed her hand. "We have to hide." They ducked behind the fuel tanks as 2 drones descended outside, scanning with bright white beams. Lyra was shaking uncontrollably. "If they take me, they erase my mind, no memory, no name." Evan clenched his jaw. "Not gonna happen." The drones moved closer, scanning the workshop walls. One beam swept over the crate she came in, the same crate that still had her serial tag on it. Evan's heart raced. He pulled his plasma cutter quietly from his belt and sliced through the crate's chip, burning the serial code off completely. The smell of melted plastic filled the air. The drones hovered for a moment, then flew away, their sensors unable to lock on to the now unregistered signal. Silence returned. Lyra fell to her knees, crying softly. "They never stop. They always find us." Evan knelt beside her, resting a hand on her shoulder. "Not while I'm here." She looked up at him with trembling eyes. "You risked yourself for me." "Why?" He shrugged slightly. "Guess I'm tired of seeing good things destroyed." The wind outside quieted. The red dust settled like a blanket over the land. Evan guided Lyra back inside, setting up better shielding around the workshop. He didn't know what tomorrow would bring, but one thing was clear. The creature he thought was a pet was something far more human than most beings he'd met, and whoever had created her, they had done something terribly wrong. As he sat beside her, Lyra suddenly reached out, touching his wrist. A small spark of light flickered, her pendant glowing again, but this time soft, not dangerous. "What's that?" he asked quietly. She smiled faintly. "Link, you help me, I help you. I share safety." He didn't understand what she meant. Not yet. But in that moment, the air between them seemed to change. The machines in the workshop hummed slightly, responding to her presence. For the first time in years, Evan didn't feel alone. Outside, unseen in the distance, another drone watched them from the ridge. Its camera zoomed in on the glowing light through the window and transmitted a message back to its base. Subject Liar A172 located. Prepare for retrieval. Inside, Evan had no idea that his act of kindness had already marked him as a criminal. And Lyra, the girl he thought he saved, was about to change not only his life but the entire future of the human colonies. The next morning on Mars began with silence. The red horizon stretched wide and still, but inside Evan's workshop everything felt heavy and uncertain. He barely slept that night, listening to every gust of wind and mechanical hum, afraid the drones would return. Lyra sat by the window, staring out at the desert. Her silver hair glowed softly under the early light. She looked calm, but her hands trembled slightly as if every sound outside still scared her. Evan poured recycled water into a metal cup and handed it to her. "Drink," he said gently. She nodded, holding it with both hands. "You didn't sleep," she whispered. He smiled tiredly. "Neither did you." For a moment they shared silence. Then Evan's curiosity took over. "Lyra," he said carefully, "what are you really? You said you were made in a lab. Why would anyone do that? Why call you a pet?" Lyra's gaze dropped to the floor. "You won't like answer," she said. "Try me." She hesitated as if searching for words. "I was born in a tank," she said finally. "Humans wanted helpers. Not robots, something soft. Something that feels but never complains." Evan frowned. "So they created you?" "Yes," she said quietly. "They took human cells, mixed them with alien genes from other worlds. They called us Seraph units. They said we were perfect. But when we started thinking for ourselves, they said we were broken. Evan clenched his jaw. That's not broken. That's being alive. Lyra looked up, her silver eyes shining with confusion. Alive, it means free. Exactly, he said. You should have been free, she smiled sadly. Freedom is dream. They put trackers in our blood. If we leave, they find us. If we speak too much, they reset us. Evan felt a chill down his spine. He remembered how her pendant glowed when she touched him. Maybe that was more than just a trinket. Maybe it was a piece of her identity, or her leash. He walked to his console and began scanning the pendant. Lines of strange code appeared. Not human, not alien, but a mix of both. Can I remove this? He asked. Lyra stepped back quickly. No, it keeps me alive. Without it, I stop. Evan froze. You mean it's connected to your body? She nodded. Heart, mind, everything. They control it from far away. He stared at the screen. Whoever made her had built more than a hybrid. They'd built a living prisoner. Hours passed. Evan spent the day trying to shield his workshop from scanners. He rewired his systems, erased signal traces, and even blacked out his registration ID. The more he worked, the more he realized he couldn't just hide her forever. But when he looked at Lyra, quietly sitting near the heater, humming in that strange soft tone, something in him refused to give her up. That night, as the winds howled again, Lyra asked softly, Evan, what is friend? He blinked, surprised. Why do you ask? I heard you say it to your radio. You said, I miss my old friends. What does it mean? Evan smiled faintly. A friend is someone who stays with you, even when things are bad. Someone who doesn't hurt you. Lyra's voice shook. Then you are my friend? He hesitated, then nodded. Yeah, I guess I am. Her smile was small but warm. Then I'm lucky. They said we don't need friends. Who said that? He asked. She looked away. The ones who built us. The White Room people. They said emotions make us weak. But when I saw you help me, I think maybe they were wrong. Before he could reply, the warning light above the door blinked red. Incoming transmission. Evan froze. He hadn't given his channel to anyone. He pressed a button. The screen flickered and a man's cold face appeared. Clean uniform, corporate insignia shining on his collar. This is Commander Rice of Genetech Security, the man said flatly. We detected unauthorized interference with our property tracking system near Zone 9. We request confirmation of shipment LYR A172. Evan's stomach twisted. You must have the wrong colony, he said quickly. No shipments here. Rice smiled slightly. Be careful, mechanic. That model carries restricted biotech. Tampering with it is a federal crime. Report its location and you'll be compensated. The line cut before Evan could respond. He turned slowly toward Lyra. She was pale, shaking. They found signal, she whispered. They come again. He walked to her and crouched down. Listen to me. I won't let them take you. Her eyes filled with tears. You can't fight them. They made me. They can make me stop breathing with one code. Evan stood. Then we destroy that code. For the next several days, Evan worked like a man possessed. He cracked old Genetech algorithms, disassembled trackers, and built a signal jammer strong enough to block any link for 50 kilometers. Lyra watched silently, sometimes helping him by adjusting the circuits with strange precision. Her fingers moved faster than human reflexes. He noticed it one night as she repaired a drone part. How do you do that? He asked. She looked confused. Do what? That speed. You learn fast, Lyra looked at her hands. I was made to learn. But they said I learned too much, he smiled. That's not too much. That's genius, she tilted her head, curious. Genius? It means special, brilliant, her face brightened. Then you are genius too. You fix things. You fixed me. Evan laughed softly. For the first time in years. It felt good to laugh. But peace never lasts long on Mars. One evening, as the twin moons rose, the colony network began broadcasting emergency alerts, unauthorized fugitives in the area. Evan looked at the screen and saw his own ID photo flash beside Lyra's. They'd branded him a criminal. Lyra saw it too. Evan, they will come for you. Because of me. I know, he said calmly. But we're not running, she looked terrified. Then what? We fight back. The next day, Evan activated the jammer. It spread a dome of energy around the workshop. Drones circling above lost their signal and crashed into the sand. Lyra watched with wide eyes. You broke them. Evan nodded. Your turn. Can you connect to their system? She hesitated. I can try. Her pendant began to glow softly. She touched the broken drone's core and closed her eyes. Lines of light traced along her veins, spreading up her arms. The drone suddenly rebooted, but its lights turned blue instead of red. It listens to me now, she whispered. Evan's eyes widened. You can control them? She nodded weakly. If I connect too long, it hurts, but I can make them see what I see. That night, they used the captured drone to scan nearby transmissions. What they found chilled them both. Genetech had deployed a retrieval squad to Mars, and they were less than 2 days away. Lyra sat by the table, hugging her knees. They never stop, she said. They want me because I know too much. I saw their secret. What secret? Evan asked. Her voice dropped to a whisper. They use people's memories. From dead soldiers. They put them into us. I remember things that are not mine. War, pain, children crying. They made us from broken souls. Evan felt sick. That's why they called you seraphs, angels made from the dead. Lyra nodded. I want to be just me. Not Ghost, he knelt beside her. Then we'll make sure you are. The night before the retrieval team's arrival, a storm rolled over the desert. Thunder echoed through the colony domes. Evan sealed every vent, prepared backup power, and armed his plasma tools. Lyra stood near the window, her eyes glowing faintly in the dark. You should leave, she said quietly. They will kill you. He shook his head. Not happening. Tears rolled down her cheeks. You don't even know me. I know enough, he said. You're alive. You didn't ask to be made. That's enough reason to fight. The wind howled louder. A flash of lightning revealed shadows moving outside. Armored soldiers. The storm was their cover. Down! Evan shouted. The door exploded inward. 3 soldiers stormed the room, their suits gleaming under red lights. Evan fired his cutter, slicing through one's weapon arm. Sparks flew. Lyra screamed as another soldier grabbed her. Target secured, the man said coldly. Initiate retrieval. Lyra struggled, her pendant glowing bright white. No, Evan. Evan swung his plasma wrench, hitting the soldier's helmet hard. The man dropped. But before Evan could reach her, the remaining soldier fired an electric net. The blast threw them both backward. The lights flickered. Then everything went dark. When Evan opened his eyes, he was lying on the floor, smoke filling the room. The soldiers were gone. Lyra was gone. Only her pendant remained, cracked and still glowing faintly. He crawled toward it, picking it up with shaking hands. Her voice, faint, digital, whispered through the chip. Evan! They take me to Ganymede. Don't follow, please. He closed his fist around the pendant, his heart breaking. I'll find you, he whispered. I promise. Outside, the storm died. The world was silent again. But in that silence, something inside Evan changed. The quiet mechanic was gone. What remained was a man ready to fight an empire. He looked out at the endless red horizon and muttered to himself. They wanted a pet. They made a weapon. And somewhere, far across the stars, a frightened girl whispered his name, her voice echoing through broken machines. 3 months had passed since that night. The storm was gone, but its shadow still haunted Evan Carter. His workshop was a ruin. The walls burned, the machines twisted, and the red dust of Mars covering everything like a grave. But Evan was not the same man anymore. He had changed. He wasn't just a lonely mechanic now. He was a wanted fugitive, the man who attacked a Genetech retrieval team and disappeared into the wastelands with stolen tech. And every night, when the wind howled across the empty plains, he would hear her voice echo in his memory. Evan, they take me to Ganymede. Don't follow. But he couldn't forget her. Lyra's pendant hung around his neck, glowing faintly like a heartbeat that refused to die. Inside it, a fragment of her neural code pulsed, part of her mind still alive, whispering to him through static dreams. Sometimes he saw flashes, her eyes, her voice, her pain. She was alive. He could feel it, and that was enough reason to keep fighting. For weeks, Evan worked in secret tunnels beneath the colony. He rebuilt drones from scrap, rewired old satellites, and hacked through encrypted transmissions. His hands were cut, his eyes tired, but his purpose burned brighter than ever. He finally traced her signal, a faint pulse coming from Ganymede, Jupiter's frozen moon. There, deep underground, was a research base called Helios Station. Officially, it was a mining lab. In truth, it was where Genetech hid their illegal hybrid experiments. Evan uploaded the coordinates into his stolen shuttle. "Hang on, Lyra," he whispered. "I'm coming." The journey took 2 weeks across the cold black of space. The shuttle rattled with every engine burn, and the stars outside looked sharp and distant, like 1,000 silent witnesses. As Ganymede grew in the viewport, he saw the vast frozen plains glimmering under Jupiter's light. Buried beneath them was the lab that held her. Evan's plan was simple. Get in, find Lyra, get out. But nothing about this mission was simple. He landed in a deep crater near the base. Dressed in stolen armor, he moved silently across the ice, his breath fogging inside his helmet. Drones buzzed overhead, scanning for intruders, but Evan used Lyra's pendant to jam their signals. Every few steps, he whispered to the pendant, "Guide me." And somehow it responded. A faint light blinked left or right, showing him paths through the maze of tunnels. Finally, he reached the steel doors of Helios Station. They were locked with multiple scanners, but Evan had something better, Lyra's code. He pressed the pendant to the terminal. The door beeped once, then opened. He stepped inside. The lab was cold and silent, filled with rows of glass pods. Inside each one floated a figure, pale, sleeping, and wired with glowing circuits. Evan's chest tightened. There were dozens of them. Dozens of pets. Each pod was marked with a name: Lair B143, Lair C209, Lair D015. Then in the middle row he found her, Liar A172, status, inactive. Her body floated still, her silver hair drifting in the fluid. Evan's hand trembled as he touched the glass. "Lyra." He looked at the control panel beside the pod. It displayed a code, neural extraction, 87% complete. They were taking her memories, erasing her piece by piece. "No," he whispered, anger boiling inside him. "Not again." He hacked into the console, forcing an override. The alarm started flashing red immediately. "Warning, unauthorized access detected. Containment breach in progress, come on," he shouted, slamming his hand on the keyboard. The pod's fluid drained slowly. The glass opened with a hiss. Lyra's body slumped forward, pale, weak, but still breathing. He caught her in his arms, shaking. "Lyra, wake up." "It's me." Her eyes fluttered open faintly, silver light dim and tired. "Evan, you came." "Always," he said, his voice breaking. She tried to lift her hand, but the wires in her veins pulled tight. "They, inside me. Their code. Still here. We'll get it out," he said firmly. "We'll end it." But the doors burst open behind them. Armed guards stormed in, rifles glowing blue. "Step away from the specimen," shouted Commander Rice, the same man from the transmission. His voice echoed across the lab. "You can't save her. She's not alive. She's data." Evan turned slowly, his face cold. "Then let's see how your data bleeds." He raised his arm, the pendant glowing fiercely now, and all the nearby drones powered on, their blue eyes turning white. Rice's men opened fire. The room exploded in chaos. Evan ducked behind a console as bullets sparked off metal. Lyra, weak but conscious, lifted her hand. Light spread from her fingers like electricity. Every drone in the lab froze, one then turned on the guards. "What?" Rice shouted as his own machines attacked him. Lyra's eyes glowed brighter. "I can control them. But not long. Do it!" Evan yelled. "Shut this place down." Her body shook as she reached her full power. Alarms wailed. The lights flickered. Glass pods shattered as the other hybrids awoke, confused but alive. Rice tried to run, but a drone grabbed him, pulling him back into the sparks. Lyra's voice trembled. "Evan, their system. I can destroy it, but if I do, I go with it." He shook his head. "No, there's another way." "There isn't," she whispered. "They made me their control key. If I break their chain, my body ends. My code burns. Then we find another solution." She smiled sadly. "You are solution." Her pendant detached from his neck and floated between them, glowing like a star. "I gave part of me to you," she said softly. "That part will live. But this part must end." Evan grabbed her shoulders. "Lyra, don't." She pressed her hand against his chest. "Thank you for showing me freedom." Then she closed her eyes. Light exploded from her body, flooding the entire lab in white fire. The machine screamed, the glass shattered, and every terminal on Ganymede flickered out. When the light faded, the entire facility was dead, every system offline, every drone silent. Evan fell to his knees. Lyra's body lay still in his arms, her pendant dim. He held her close, tears falling silently onto her cold face. "You kept your promise," he whispered. "You saved everyone." The hybrids around him began to stir, blinking weakly. They looked at Evan with confusion and gratitude. One of them, a young boy with metallic veins, whispered, "She freed us." Evan nodded slowly. "Yeah, she did." Days later, a rescue ship from the outer colonies picked up an emergency signal. They found Evan among the ruins of Helios Station, surrounded by freed hybrids and broken machines. He refused to leave until every survivor was safe. When they asked his name, he simply said, "Nobody important." But when they scanned the wreckage, they found strange new codes spreading through the system. A living algorithm. Gentle and warm. The scientist didn't understand it, but Evan did. It was her Lyra's mind, alive inside the machines, watching, guiding. He smiled through tears. "You never left, did you?" The lights on the ship flickered once, softly, like a reply. Months later, across the Mars colonies, something incredible began to happen. Machines that had never shown emotion started humming quietly when humans were near. Drones that once obeyed cold orders now helped people in small ways, fixing leaks, shielding children from dust storms, even singing when it rained. The colonists called it the Lyra effect. No one could explain it. But Evan knew. He had built a small house near the canyon edge where the wind sang softly at night. On the table inside, Lyra's pendant glowed faintly, a soft, steady heartbeat. Every evening he sat by the window watching the stars. And sometimes, when the night was quiet, a voice would whisper through the speakers, gentle and clear, "Evan, are you lonely?" He smiled. "Not anymore." Outside, the wind carried her voice across the desert, a song of freedom, love and rebellion. And though she had been made to serve, she became something greater, the spirit that taught machines to feel, and humans to care again. Final line, he expected a pet, but found a soul that changed the galaxy.